So this video is gonna be a lot of different things. I'm gonna push a lot of things into one video, pretty much. So first I want to talk about the meaning behind the names of certain things. And this is just gonna be a part one for this. So Nike is a Greek god. The shoes are for idolatry, for materialism and worship of this god. To get Yasharel to fall into worship of this god. Next thing, Nisan. Nisan is actually the first month of the year for the Hebrew calendar. And then in 2016, a lot of people were talking about how the word NASA actually means to deceive. And we all should know that the way in outer space is through the ocean, as well as the fact that there's a lot of lies revolving around this organization. What I do have left is a few examples. Evil and good name changes, or really the name change ritual, as I'm gonna call it. So of course, the dark side always has to copy the light, or the evil copies good, Satan copies the Most High. Just like how the Most High has on earth as it is in heaven, Satan has as above, so below, and a lot of other things like that. These name changes also have something to do with the DID rituals and the different spirits they channel, the splits / altars, but anyways, here I go. So, if I'm remembering right, in Genesis, Jubilees, Testament of Abraham, and a few other books, Sarah's name went from Sarai to Sarah, and then Abraham was Abram to Abraham, Jacob to Israel, Saul to Paul, etc. But for Satan, trying to think of who I should name first. Adolf, the dude whose name I'm pretty sure I can't say the whole name for, that wasn't his original name. I'm pretty sure he changed his name to Adolf, and then the other part that I'm pretty sure I can't say. I don't think Aleister Crowley's birth name was Aleister Crowley. It was someone else. Not Antoine LaVey, maybe it was him. It was someone else that was really prominent in the Satanic Temple or Luciferianism that also changed their name. But I think it was him, but I feel like I'm missing somebody. Then some other examples. Marshall Mathers to Slim Shady and Eminem. Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. But the thing is, in this case, this was also one of the altars or spirits that would take over her. Lil Wayne had all types of names from all the different bullcrap they took him through, starting at really, honestly, since really early childhood, but especially the things that Birdman did to him, starting at about 10, 11. I also believe Birdman is the person who gave NBA YoungBoy herpes in 2016, 2018, but anywho, there was Young Money, Tunchi, Young Moolah. Trying to remember all of them, but there were so many. In fact, I can't remember all the Lil Wayne ones, but going back to NBA YoungBoy, NBA YoungBoy has this one alternate personality called Top, and there was this thing that he would say that a whole bunch of people started saying, in the hood especially, and it was some video that went viral where he was like, "Stop playing on my top," and then everybody started saying it, and they're just inviting the personality into them too. So yeah, there was that. Nicki Minaj and Roman. That was altar. Her spirit she would channel for the music. And oh yeah, I can't believe I forgot to put the Tupac one. So Tupac's name was not Tupac. His original name was Lucien Parrish Crooks. He changed his name to Tupac Amaru Shakur when he got taken in by some rich white people. Okay, I totally forgot to say. Tupac Amaru Shakur means blessed shining serpent. I had to add that in there. Don't know why I forgot that. That were in the bloodline, which he was in a bloodline too himself, of course. He was in one of the melanated ones. But he was taken in by the serpent seed, and they introduced him to more occultic stuff. And then he got into the whole Hail Mary stuff. Because, of course, the Catholic Church pushes that, but Mary is not the Queen of Heaven. People have actually worshipped the Queen of Heaven since way before Jesus even existed, or Mary. The Queen of Heaven and Queen of Heaven worship actually is about Lilith. And it's really funny that Catholics say that Mary is the Queen of Heaven, but Mary halfway even like Jesus most of the time. What I have written down on some old notes is Jeremiah 44:16, I think it says. Well, actually it's not 16, it's 17. We will certainly do everything we said we would. We will burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and will pour out drink offerings to her, just as we and our ancestors, our kings and our officials did in the towns of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. At that time we had plenty of food and were well off and suffered no harm. But this was when they went into idolatry. In fact, the summary or title of this paragraph is disaster because of idolatry. So actually it's 44:17. So now that I put that out there, before Tupac faked his death, he changed his name to Machiavelli. I don't remember much about the Machiavelli thing. I did do some research on it. That was a long time ago. You'll have to research Machiavelli and who Machiavelli was. There's also this other occultic dude that Tupac mentioned a lot in his music, whose books he would read. And he would read these books when he was brought into these people's house. Because I remember in Trading War Stories, he was like, I think his name was Donald Growan or something, Donald Glover, I don't know. But I just remember something like that. Because it was like something, Donald Growan, my father figure. Mom sent me to go play with the dope deal or something like that. I know a couple of his songs, but I guess the ones that stick out to me were the most occultic ones, like Hail Mary. Honestly, Hail Mary, that mind control and the chanting and the witchcraft and that's like on my list next to Bone Thugs and Harmony, More Murder, which was mind control, witchcraft, chanting, probably even a sigil thread that was used to brainwash generations of Yasharel to take each other out. Honestly, it's probably a good thing that not too many people watch this. Hopefully not, because like, I already know I'm going to have a whole bunch of, what people call them old heads or something. I don't really know where that term came from, but they'll be very mad because the thing is, they don't like to hear the truth. They act like the generations, or the quote-unquote new generations, are just bad and messed up. And like, they really don't see the big role that they play in it. Like, along with the fact that most boomers and their parents are narcs. So, there's that part. And it's like the things that they normalize and okay just led to what's going on now. And a lot of them are broken people due to the whole no father agenda and other things that went along with that. So they look up to these puppets in the industry as their dads. So they hate when you talk about these turned out rappers and stuff that they love so much. And then of course people will say, and people have said to me before, that it was all before my time and it's way before my time and I don't understand and all that stuff. Now, I found this very interested in December. And I wonder this was like around the time of the cases starting, which are really a distraction because of course they're not going to do jack about jack. Really, if society wants anything to be done about these issues, they'd have to do it themselves, but most people either don't care, or they like the person, or they're too scared, things like that. But I took note on this because it was really interesting. First Enoch, chapter 97, those who sin on islands will lose riches. And I think I should just read the whole chapter. Believe you righteous, that the sinners will become ashamed and perish in the day of unrighteousness. Be it known to you, you sinners, that the Most High is mindful of your destruction, and the messengers of heaven rejoice over your destruction. What will you do, you sinners, and where will you flee on that day of judgment, when you hear the voice of the prayer of the righteous? Yes, you will fare like to them against whom this word will be a testimony. You have been companions of sinners, and in those days the prayers of the righteous will reach to the Lord. And for you the days of your judgment will come, and all the words of your unrighteousness will be read out before the great Holy One, and your faces will be covered with shame. And he will reject every work which is grounded on unrighteousness. Woe to you sinners who live in the midst of the ocean, and on the dry land, whose remembrance is evil against you. Woe to you who acquire silver and gold in unrighteousness, and say, we have become rich with riches, and have possessions, and have acquired everything we have desired. And now, let us do what we purposed, for we have gathered silver, and there are many farmers in our houses, and our granaries are brimful as with water. Yes, and like water, your lives will flow away, for your riches will not abide, but speedily ascend from you, for you have acquired it all in unrighteousness, and you will be given over to a great curse. Jubilees 17:16. No, wrong one. Jubilees 18 shows how trials work with the courtroom of heaven, back when Satan was still allowed to go to heaven himself and accuse people, which demons still do, but Satan eventually lost his right to just be able to walk up in there like he used to. And it's similar to Job. And then Jubilees 17:16 refers to Satan as the Prince Mastema, which, if I'm remembering right, the definition pretty much goes back to how he's the father of the Anunnaki and the hybrids and all that, which goes into something else that I could throw in. And Joseph and Asenath, after Asenath had went on this spoiled rant about how she didn't want to get with Joseph because he was an orphan and nobody loved him, she eventually changed her mind after a series of events, and Joseph not really liking her because she was a pagan. And so, eventually, in 1213, she started praying, and she was talking about how Satan / the lion who was after her is the father of the gods of the Egyptians, because of course he created all of them, just like religions in general, which I talk about in my, How to Know If You're in the Beast Religion, part 1 and part 2. I've also heard people mention a book about the king of Babylon and how that goes into how he created religions to control people. But the reality is that all religions go back to the tree of good and evil, which goes into the next thing I could talk about. This one is actually really, really funny because religious organizations have really misconstrued this very, very badly. And it really just shows the deception. So, one thing that you get out of Genesis when it comes to the whole situation with Adam and Eve is that, for one, The woman wanted knowledge, the man wanted the woman. So there's that part. 2, well, no, that shouldn't even be the one. That should probably be like the 4th thing. But 2, they were already like God. The way I see it is that what the serpent or Satan really meant is, if you eat the fruit, I'll be like God. You won't, but I will. Because you already are, but I want to be. And Satan wanted everything in his image, which is why in one of the books, Adam and Eve, don't know which one this is. I don't have this one. And it's completely different from the one that I have and have read, which is actually titled Life of Adam and Eve. But in another one I've seen, Satan pretty much talks about how he wanted the world for him and his kind, which of course that's the end goal. For Satan to be living with a whole bunch of hybrids after they take out a lot of people. Then a lot of people get the mark, and then the hybrids come out. Well, no, the hybrids would already be back out by then, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, and that goes into the whole, I don't even know where this note is at, but it's mentioned in Revelation and other parts how, like, pretty much the war is Satan's NWO versus God's NWO. So, before Adam and Eve ate the fruit, they shined so bright they couldn't see themselves. That's why they didn't know that they were naked, because they let off so much light because they were already like God that they couldn't see themselves. So just like how in the Bible angels are described, they show up and they're like a bright light depending on how they show up, because of course these different beings can all shapeshift. But if they show up in their main form, they're so bright, you can't see them and you can't see their face unless they let you, or they shapeshift. Same thing with the Most High. And I have the verses and notes somewhere because I was supposed to make a video on that too, but I procrastinate way too much. So you can see with Enoch and with Moses, and I think Abraham too, but I know Enoch and Moses, they both went up to a mountain and they talked to God. And then when they came back down, or when they were done talking to God, they were in his presence and in his light so much, their face was shining. Because in the regular Bible, or what we have left, thanks to the religious organizations, not going to go into that, it talks about how when Moses came down, people were scared of him because he was glowing pretty much. Because he had that, the light on him and the frequency and all those things, because he had like just became like really purified and holy and all that. Same thing with Enoch, which Enoch was actually one of the first priests of the entire world. So he had the same thing going on. And Adam and Eve had this, but they had it automatically because they were created like that until they ate the fruit, which then genetically modified them and changed their DNA, got them kicked from their first estate. It made them... Okay, so had to add something else in. I could also say that Adam and Eve had them just because their DNA was still pure. But Moses and Enoch had it because they had been in the presence of God. Also, you could see it on their face and in their countenance, because just like it says, Moses' countenance was changed and he was glowing. But Adam and Eve's whole body was like that. Unpure. And it made them decent spiritually and physically. So like another attribute that Adam and Eve had, which goes along with how they were already like God, is that they had spiritual eyes. So when you have spiritual eyes or supernatural eyes, you don't just see what's in front of you. One example I could think of off the top of my head is that you're standing at the bottom of a mountain. You look up, you can see the top, you can see behind the mountain, you can see the mountain behind that mountain. Or you look around the corner of like, I don't know, a building or something, you can see all the way down the road. That's how Adam and Eve could see. Of course, this isn't omnipresence or any of that, but they still had spiritual eyes, and they could see a lot, because that's how spiritual eyes work. It's more than like good vision. It's like, it's just hard to explain. In fact, what Adam and Eve had is what a lot of this transhumanism, or some of it I should say, is actually trying to get people back to, but without the power of God or repentance.